Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Wired Hoops podcast. This is your one-stop shop for anything basketball, sports, and culture. I'm your host, AJ, and with two of my buddies here.
Yo, what's up? What's up? It's Amataz.
What's up, y'all? My name is Nazib.
And yeah, so thank you guys for so much support on our first episode. It went really well. We got a lot of DMs and a lot of constructive criticism. So just thank you for your positivity. Keep sending in suggestions on what to do better. And I promise you, we're going to keep getting better. We're already starting to implement a couple changes here and there. And so just let us know what you think. One of the things is that on our YouTube, we've launched a YouTube channel where we've actually split our first podcast into two parts to make it easier for everybody. And we're going to continue to do that. Starting with this podcast and more, if they go a bit longer, like last time, we're going to be splitting them into two and posting them onto Spotify, Anchor, and YouTube, just to make it easier for you guys. We heard that a lot, that it was really long. So we just want to make sure that it's easy and not too tedious for you guys. That being said, let's get into it, guys. So we have a few things we want to talk about, but the main thing has to be, I think we got to start off with Steph Curry here. Last night was insane. Holy shit.
He popped off, man. He popped off.
Jesus. I want to actually get up the exact statistics here. So he had 62 points, if you guys didn't see, in 36 minutes. 18 of 31 from the field, so that's above 50%, and 8 of 16 from three, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. But who cares about that? 62 points, that's a career high. His previous career high was 54. What do you guys just thought about this, man?
I mean, it's insane, right? He's coming off an injury. People are like, oh, Steph Curry, oh, he's not like LeBron, he can't carry his team. And then he just proved everyone wrong, right? He completely went off, had the hot hand, and he got the dub.
Yeah, I mean, I think in one of his interviews, I saw this on Instagram. It might not be correct, but hopefully it is. So I saw on Instagram that he actually said, oh, the Jordan meme. Yeah, I took that personally. I thought that was just hilarious, and it was just like the most absolute perfect thing. A lot of people were coming into this season saying that, Damian Lillard, he's taking up, he's gotten better than Steph Curry now. He's the best point guard in the league. And Steph just silenced all those haters last night. That was crazy. He was just lighting it up everywhere. It was crazy, man. That was insane. The babyface assassin is back, boys.
It just shows that these NBA players actually care about what's on social media, right? So it does impact them because they do read it, and
for sure, that was insane.
I think it's just Steph Curry doing Steph Curry type things, Give him the ball, let him cook. That's what he showed.
Yeah, and I think another really important thing is that last night they won, of course, but Wiggins and Oubre, they played pretty decently as well. They didn't shoot well from three. I think Wiggins is doing fine from three. He's like averaging 38% or something like that this season, but he was 1 of 5 last night. Oubre shooting like 6%. I think he was also like 1 of 5, 1 of 4. But yeah, Wiggins had 21 points last night, 8 of 16 shooting. Oubre at 17. So he's getting some help, and I think a lot of people jumped the wagon when it comes to this Warriors team this week. People said, the Curry can't carry, like you said, Amatozer. The Warriors aren't making the playoffs, whatever. They're 3-3 now. They were 0-2, 1-2, 1-3. They're 3-3 now. So I mean, I think people just they jumped the wagon a little bit on them.
Yeah, and do you guys think Curry's gonna continue on this trajectory, or you think it's gonna fall off again?
I got the Warriors making the playoffs as like the 4th seed. They're the 8th seed right now, but they just needed a little bit of time. Just again, that's all it was. We didn't give the Warriors enough time to actually, warm up. Like I feel like that's just kind of what it is, because Oubre was playing like trash. Wiggins was playing like trash. Even Curry, Curry was getting like triple teamed, double teamed. He wasn't on his groove. But now it's starting to settle in, and you can definitely see that the Warriors are coming back. I had them as a 5th seed. So yeah, I think this is going to continue. I think Steph's going to keep doing what he's doing. And honestly, like I'm really happy to see that he's finally doing well now, to be honest. Because I was honestly, to be honest, I was one of those people that was getting kind of scared. But
Yeah, I guess I think it's less Steph Curry because we know what he's gonna bring to the court every day. I think it's like you said, what Oubre and Wiggins. We don't know. We still have uncertainties on how good they'll be. Like they showcased their potential with this team. With if they continue playing like how they played yesterday, I think they're easy playoff team, top 6 playoff team. Yeah,
sure.
just how efficient they stay, and how they work with each other. Because as we know, Oubre had that the worst shooting start ever. And you can't get worse than that. So obviously he's going to get better, but it's not like Oubre's ever been an efficient shooter his career. So I think it's just them meshing in and, just playing better. And I think with Draymond coming back, that's definitely, a big upgrade to their team because, he brings playmaking and then he brings defense. And in my opinion, he was the second best player yesterday for the Warriors.
Yeah, I think, Draymond brings an underrated aspect. I know a lot of people were making fun of him on social media yesterday saying, Curry and Draymond, combined for 63 points, such a great dynamic duo, right? He only had 1 point last night, but you look at it, 8 assists. He was playing some really good defense too. I mean, the Warriors defense has been abysmal this season. Even last night, it wasn't great, but he was still, I think, a bright spot on that end of the court. And he was, again, solid with his playmaking. But I think even then, like if they want to keep consistently, Draymond has to go back and start scoring a little bit more. He needs to become that glue guy again that he was known for.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know in terms of scoring. I don't know how much scoring he'll get because of who they have. Because I don't know. Because he's never been same like Oubre and Wiggins. He's never been an efficient shooter. He might have had like one really good 3-point shooting season. Outside of that, he's never really. He's been like you said, he's been that glue guy who can do everything else that you want him to do. So I guess we have to see. And Wiseman, he's been a mass.
Yeah,
he's been
massive
for the Warriors.
I think we really need to shed some light on James Wiseman. I think we all left him out of our Rookie of the Year standings last season, or like at least we kind of snubbed the man. So. Yeah. I think that he needs to be on our list now because he's honestly been the most consistent player aside from Steph Curry on this team. Since game 1, he's been playing well. It's only 5 games in, but he's been playing amazing. And I think he needs to be given credit for that. So watch out for him being a high Rookie of the Year candidate for sure. But honestly, let's get into the reactions of the week, not just the standings, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts about, players that you thought were kind of standing out. So for me personally, I called this. Nobody thought this was going to happen. When I took him in fantasy, people said that he's trash and you're going to get nothing out of him. But Gordon Hayward has been playing really well to start the season.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, man. I was one of the people that told you that he's washed.
And I ain't trying to hear no more Hayward slander because he's balling, man. He's averaging 18 on the season, right? He had 2 bad games recently, but he's been he's been rather consistent.
Overall,
he's been pretty good.
If we're talking overall,
he's been pretty good. And not just that, it's not just his scoring, but his playmaking has gotten better. He's averaging 5 assists on the season, which isn't horrible. It's not amazing. But he's been getting way more assists recently, grabbing a couple rebounds here and there. His 3-point shooting and his efficiency have been solid. Again, like I said, he had 2 pretty bad games, but aside from that, he's been really consistent, really good. So, hopefully people start looking at it more. I know Charlotte's been kind of trash, right? But people need to start looking and, turning some eyes towards Gordon Hayward because it seems that, he's starting to get back his form. And another player I was thinking of who I'll also have on my fantasy, I think you guys can see a trend in where my sleepers are coming from, but Keldon Johnson, forward for the San Antonio Spurs, the 29th pick in the 2019 draft. The Spurs have done it again. Like they've always had absolutely amazing scouting, but this is just really good. He's averaging 16 points on the season, 49% from the field, 43% from the 3-point line. he had 22 points, 10 of 16 shooting against Utah, 26 points against the Lakers, 5 of 9 shooting. Like his last 2 games have been amazing. He's been really good on the year.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about him?
Yeah, I love that Popovich is embracing the youth. He doesn't have a problem with playing his young guys now.
Yeah,
I thought coming into the season that there might be some uncertainties to how many minutes the young guys play. Yeah, he's been getting his minutes and he's been producing. We saw it last year. Like he's an efficient shooter. Last year we saw it on like limited minutes and stuff, and only 17 games. But this year he's bumped it up, and he showed that he can be that number 2, number 3 option for the an okay Spurs team.
Yeah, and you know what? On the defensive end, he hasn't been bad too. He's averaging 1.5 steals per game, 0.7 blocks for like a smaller forward, like a small forward, guard type player. That's pretty good. So he's no slouch on that end. You can't, he plays the passing lanes really well. I don't know his turnover numbers per se, but he's a really good catch and shoot. So I'm not sure about his dribbling, but yeah, he's really good. I think people need to set his eyes on him now for most improved player of the year. His first year in the league, he was pretty solid, but he had a jump of about 7 points. So I'm super excited to see what the future holds for the Spurs. And you're right, Popovich, he did it again. But now let's look at the standings. And the standings, especially in the Eastern Conference, have looked weird, guys. Like it's been really strange, and I'm like, I can't even lie to you. I've been really sad the last.
All our predictions, man. The predictions are in the first
not just my predictions, man, but it's just been I feel like I'm gonna burn. Like I'm gonna delete my notes for the first podcast because everything is just going in the opposite direction. It's all right. Where do we start here? Do you want to start with the Raptors? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Raptors are 1-4. They haven't been below 500 since 2014.
Yeah,
the first game of 2014. Yeah.
Yeah, first game of 2014, something like that, or February 2014. Yeah. I'm not even sure, but it's been a really long time, so it's kind of weird to see the Raptors struggle like this. What are you guys seeing out there when you guys are watching the games, looking at the stats?
It's Siakam, man. He's the problem here. And the only game they have won is when Siakam was out of the lineup. Come on now.
That game was the Knicks. I don't know if you can really
the Knicks. I mean, they shot 3 of 20. Yeah. 3 of 27
from 30, I think. 3 of 33 or something.
Yeah, 3 of 33. They sucked, mate.
I know, but I still think they should maybe try again, take Siakam out, at least out of the starting lineup. Like, I feel like Norman Powell is a better fit. Maybe I'm just saying that because he's my fantasy team, but like I like Norman Powell a lot better than Siakam in the starting lineup.
Relax on that, but like, I think that Siakam's just going through a slump. I think he's a huge part of why we're not playing well, for sure. But I think he's going through a huge slump, for sure. He's not playing well. Ever since the All-Star break, we were just talking about this post pre-recording, but ever since the All-Star break last season, he hasn't looked great. In the bubble, he wasn't great. And now it's kind of carried on here. I'm not sure what's going on with Siakam, but it's going to change. I think you just need to give him some time and he'll come around. He'll get better. I think a lot of it is just the lack of confidence. He doesn't look very happy out there when he's playing. He's frustrated. He's annoyed. And, he just needs to learn to use that and just get better and get his confidence back through every practice, every game. The game against the Knicks, I think you can't even really look at that as an example of why Siakam shouldn't be in the lineup, because the Knicks were horrible in general. They were worse than us. It's hard to be worse than the Raptors right now, but they were. Their shooting was atrocious. So there's no way in hell we should have lost that game. Well, we could have lost that game, even with Siakam in the lineup. So
yeah, but it is what it is, man.
But yeah, very blunt, just bringing out Siakam at first. So I think it's mostly just our offense in general.
I think our draws have been bad.
Yeah. I think our offense, especially in the second half of games, have stalled. We have a negative plus minus as a team. in the third quarter. We've been getting destroyed in the third quarter. First game of the season against the Pelicans, outscored by 16, outscored by 10 last night, if I'm not, or not last night, but 10 last game, if I'm not, if I'm correct. But let me just figure that out real quick. Where are they at? We got outscored by 10. So just to New Orleans Pelicans, we've been outscored by 26 points this season in 2 games against the Pelicans in the third quarter. We have not won a third quarter, barely even. And that was only against the Knicks. So I think our second half offense needs to get better. Raptors need to look more fresh. And it's just the schemes aren't working. And honestly, I can't even blame that on Nick Nurse or any of the coaching staff. Because to be honest, it's mostly the players. The execution has been horrendous in the second half. Players aren't making shots. 3-pointers aren't going down. I don't know if you can call this like a team slump, or is it just that the players themselves are regressing. So that is just to be seen. But one thing's for sure, I think Nick Nurse needs to start experimenting with more lineups. Boucher has been really, really good, I feel, off the bench this season. I think he needs to be given the starting nod. A lot of NBA players, a lot of NBA fans and Raptors fans have been calling for Malachi Flynn to play. I mean, you don't really see late, first round picks play or any late picks, to be honest. You don't really see them play that often in their first season, especially this early on. But with the 1-4, 1-5 start, we're playing against the Celtics today. Just throw him out there for a few minutes. Just throw him out there. He looked good in the preseason. Just see what type of offense he can bring. He's a great pick and roll user. He's got decent playmaking. He can shoot the ball from pretty deep. I think that's the motive.
Yeah, the thing. Yeah, so I think, like we talked about before, how like Nurse has been forcing, Fred VanVleet into that Kyle Lowry role.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that Fred can excel in that. I think he can be good, but I don't think he can excel, because we've seen him like years before. He's been really good when he's been off ball. And whether it's running around, off screens and stuff, catch and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Malachi Flynn comes in off the bench. I think we've got very limited scoring off the bench and playmaking. And when Lowry's out, Raptors have their offense has looked bad,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because of a lack of playmaking and ball movement. And I think that's what Malachi Flynn can bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And also our free throw shooting. We barely got to the line. And I think Malachi Flynn during the preseason, he showed that he can drive.
Yeah, and just an interesting stat from the last game: the Pelicans shot 28 free throws in the fourth quarter. The Raptors, I believe, shot 27, 23. They shot more free throws than the Raptors and led in only the fourth quarter than the Raptors did the entire game. Now, I mean, I don't want to blame the refs for everything, because the Raptors have sucked too. But at the same time, it really does feel that the Raptors aren't getting much respect. But I guess a lot of that has to do with the attacking. I think the Raptors, even in previous years, we've seen that when the offense tends to stall for the Raptors, they start resorting to shot breaking, especially from the 3-point line. And the Raptors just need to, again, get their motion set, get their sets right, start hitting their shots, especially in the paint. They need to force things now, get to the free throw line. It's said that, getting to the line when your shot's not there and you're down, the best way to get back into the game is to get to the free throw line. And they're not doing a great job of that right now.
I want to give props to the Raps. Like, they made a pretty nice. They came back in that game against the Pelicans, right?
But they were also up by a lot too. That's the thing. That's the concerning part.
Yeah, it's fine though.
It's just not fun.
It's confusing what the Raps have been through. We've never seen it like this.
Exactly.
It's not part of their identity.
There's a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It's the first time we're seeing the Raps struggle.
The Raptors have always been a team who bounce back after every loss or after any time they go down, droughts like this. But they haven't been able to bounce back. They've been constantly, having droughts and stuff. So I don't know whether it's, people have to get their mindset right. Whether it's, if Siakam starts getting his game in order, then maybe everyone else can.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a domino effect. Some sort of domino effect.
Yeah, I think a win today against like a great Celtics team would really like maybe increase the confidence in the team, and maybe they can get back on track.
For sure. Another thing I do want to point out is the rebounding for the Raptors. It's been pretty bad. Against the Pelicans, they got out rebounded by 12, 51-39. The rebounding hasn't been great. Boucher, he's, again, as I said, I think Boucher needs to get that starting role or needs to get more minutes off the bench, but he isn't an amazing rebounder. Yeah. And Baines and Len have not really done like what they're supposed to. Baines has not looked as good as he did last year with the Suns. He hasn't been great.
Yeah, Baines shooting, it hasn't been anything close to what it was last year. Last year he looked like the best 3-point shooting big man outside of Karl Towns.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is, as you said, rebounding, and Alex Len, he's probably the best rebounder that we have, but he's not really playable. So because of his lack of defense and his shooting, and I don't think you can really have that when you're struggling like the Raptors are. So.
Yeah, I mean, he played solid against the Knicks, 3 of 3 from 3 downtown, 11 points, 2 rebounds only though. Like even then, I think rebounding has always been a struggle for the Raptors, but that's why you had like guys like hard-headed guys, physical guys like Ibaka and Gasol, and now you're missing them. You won't find many guys out there that are as physical as them, especially role players. And I think that's where we're really missing. That's where the Raptors are really missing him.
Yeah, I feel like we've really underestimated how much Ibaka and Gasol was worth for the Raptors,
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of that comes from the rebounding.
Rebounding, and whenever the Raptors went on droughts, you could always count on Ibaka because he was always hitting shots. If you looked at in the playoffs, right, when Siakam, he wasn't playing well, who was there? It was Ibaka. He was hitting his shots,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another player, actually, I kind of forgot about that. I kind of want to see is Bembry. He's a really active player. Like he's one of those players that really brings energy to the lineup, to the court. You see that in Atlanta a lot. His slam dunks, Trae Young lobs to him, steal and then a fast break finish. He brings a lot of energy to his teams. I think I want to see him more out there because he can definitely solidify that defensive end. He can shoot the threes decently. He's not amazing, but he can still hit it if you leave him open. But his athleticism is the main thing again, like his ability to rise up above the rim. And the Raptors need to attack the paint more, draw more fouls, try to get some dunks there. Usually Norman Powell is that energy guy. But right now, recently, he's not playing as well as he did last year, nowhere near. So you need to bring that guy off the bench that can kind of bring you some energy on the defensive end and kind of liven your team up. And one thing I kind of been thinking about the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of starting to hit me now, like a little more, like I'm kind of feel like this is really important. I think the Raptors are a team that really feeds off the crowd energy, especially like a player like Siakam, right? He played really well in the season, but then when the bubble started, he was playing horrible, and even now he's playing horrible. What was the main variable that changed? It's the fact that there's no crowd, it's quiet, right? And I think that can set players off, right? Especially for the Raptors. I think that's what's happening because, I don't really see another explanation here. They're just straight up missing shots. These are a lot of shots that they're getting. Their plays are fine, but they're just not hitting them. They're not hitting their jumpers. They're not hitting their layups, right? They're not getting to the line as much. So
agreed. Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with their fans, and you need that energy off the bench, and we don't have that right now. And Bembry could be that guy. But that's enough about the Raptors. I'm sure we're all sad and really depressed that they're doing horrible, but we have a lot more teams to get through. So now I want to talk about the Wizards and the Nuggets. I think the Wizards, they've been, to be honest, they've been playing to how I thought they'd be playing. A lot of people were expecting this team to be really good. I really don't think that the Wizards are quote unquote struggling. I think they should be right where they are. But what do you guys think?
No, No. I think you're wrong there because look, they had a 0-5 start, right? And now they've won back-to-back games. Sure, you can argue they got lucky. Irving and KD missed game winners, clean looks. But
Right.
thing is, now they got it together. They've won back-to-back games. They have that mindset. I think they're gonna roll through and win a few more straight and get back to 500. I think they're gonna be.
You're saying that as they got the Sixers and the Celtics up next.
Yeah, I think they can beat them. Yeah, I like the Wizards with Beal, Westbrook, Bryant. I think they have a nice core. They can make the playoffs in my opinion.
Well, for me, I think they've been staying very competitive in all their games, but their defense is just really not good. They gave up 130 to the Magic. And then back-to-back games, they gave up 120 plus, 120 and then 130. They have 115 to the Bulls, then 133. They gave up 122 to the Nets yesterday. Their defense hasn't been great, and honestly, it's really they have to really rely on their offensive end to get buckets, and that's really coming down to Bradley Beal. I think Westbrook he's doing the same things he's been doing, for his whole career, which is just low efficiency scoring, but he's not shooting it that big of volume, right? And I think that says a lot about Westbrook as a player. He's not the greatest. I mean, like against Brooklyn, 7 of 25 from the field for 24 points. He's shooting 38% from the field and 23% from three. It's not looking great for them in that aspect. They need to bring their offense up if they want to do well. But at the same time, I feel like I predicted this. Like, I don't really think that they have what it takes to make the playoffs. I think they can get to the 10 seed. They can make it into the play-in tournament, but that's about it.
So for me, this is the part where you missed John Wall, right? On the defensive end, like you talked about. So John Wall, there was a reason why he was a top 5 point guard. It wasn't because of what he brought offensively. He was good offensively. It was what he brought on the defensive end, that tenacity, that he was that number one, that guard defender for them. Right now, they don't have anyone on their, the guards that can defend. Like, Russ, Bradley Beal, Ish Smith, none of those guys will, bring defense for you. Yeah. Also, down low, like Thomas Bryant, he isn't defensively minded. He's strictly offense. So
and even then, he's been playing he's been slipping up a lot.
Yeah. And then also one thing that they've misused Denny. They've kept him in the corner just shooting threes. I don't think that's what he has. He has potential to be a ball handler and do more than just sit in the corner.
He can make for himself, right? He can create his own shot. Yeah.
And I think you're right about that, and it's interesting because when you watch the Wizards play, because I think honestly I've been really enjoying watching Wizards games this season. I think they're always really close in their games, but one thing you see is that when Deni Avdija is out there, he's not getting the ball at all. I remember I posted this on my Instagram story sometime because I have him on my fantasy team, but there's literally a stretch against Philly, their Philly game, which was really close, and it was really fun to watch. But in the season, when he has the ball in his hand, he's looking for guys. He's getting the ball to his teammates. He's willing to pass, and he's been solid efficiency as well. He's shooting really good from three on, of course, low volume. But if you leave him open, he can shoot. But I think you're right in the sense that he's not really getting the opportunities that he should be getting, I think.
Yeah, he would be getting on other teams for sure.
That, and you have Westbrook, who's really ball dominant. And then you also Scott Brooks. He isn't really that good of a coach. And if you look at the stats, right, he's only averaged 5.3 field goals attempt. And when he shot 48% from the field and then 47% from three. Mm-hmm. And he's had 2.4 assists, which means he's been effective when he's got the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they're starting Davis Bertans over Denny. So I'm not sure. I think there has to be, whether it's I don't know. I think
they need to swap that though, because if they're really looking to get Beal and Westbrook the ball a lot, I think that Westbrook needs to play off the ball more. I think I've said this a lot of times, but I think when Westbrook is playing smart, he's like a top 2 point guard in the league. When he's playing smart and efficiently, those games, his team is winning 100%. right?
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he's always
I
has the
can
ball
agree
in
on
his
that.
hand and he's always looking to score and he's not efficient if it's outside the paint. So I think Scott Brooks needs to start, giving the ball more to Denny and take Westbrook off the ball, have him on cuts to the rim. I thought that's what would really happen in Houston when James Harden had the ball, but D'Antoni ran a system with like just isolations with both of them. But there were really cool moments in Houston when James Harden was being more ball dominant and Russell Westbrook just cutting, playing in the post, cutting to the rim, moving around. Right, there were some attempts there, but nothing super crazy. And I think Scott Brooks should start exploring that and giving Denny the ball. Or if they want to keep up what they're doing, they need to get Bertans more touches and get Denny off the bench and be like the primary ball handler off the bench.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, moving him to the bench could be really good because he would be the number one ball handler.
Yeah,
beside Ish Smith, right?
And Ish Smith is solid too. He's not a bad player, but Denny Avdia is your 9th pick, and you're 2 and 5, right?
And he's only getting 5 shots a game.
Exactly. So you need to start giving him more. You can't have Bradley Beal and Westbrook taking 50 shots per game and only hitting 9 or 7 of them, because that's what happened last night against Brooklyn. Westbrook was 7 of 25. Bradley Beal was 9 of 25. Give your teammates more shots. They need more ball movement. The next team that's there is the Nuggets. What I was saying, 2 and 4. And honestly, I don't know what it was going to average 30 a night. What else? What other dumb shit did he
I was
do
right
today?
about one thing that Trae Young. I'm pretty sure he is averaging 30, right?
Sure. I'll give you that. But Kevin Durant. Well, I wonder what Kevin Durant is averaging on the season.
But I was wrong.
Would you look at that? 28.2% per game on 50 and 51% from the field, 45% from 3. I just wanted to bring that up. I'm sorry. You could.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up, but I was wrong. I was wrong.
I'm about to bring that up, but you can continue now. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Like that was there.
I'm pretty sure I said that Jamal Murray would average 25, not 30.
No, you said 28 points per game.
Oh yeah, I said 28. Yeah, what's he averaging? Like 24.
24. Yeah. That's because of the last 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's not 28.
Yeah, I think that's all I had to say about the Nuggets. I think they're fine. I think the Nuggets are fine. They're probably going to be a high seed, like maybe 3 or 2, in my opinion.
So, for the Nuggets, like we knew what they were going to bring offensively, and the concern was obviously defensively. If defensive rating of 116.1, which is the second worst in the league, right?
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, I guess you can't, like, even Gary Harris, who's probably one of their better defenders. He hasn't been having a good season. Paul Millsap hasn't been, he's been good offensively. Defensively, he hasn't been that well. So, yeah, I think losing Jeremy Grant was, it's really big because, he brought versatility and he brought, that defense that they are lacking right now.
Yeah.
And do you think they're also missing Mason Plumlee?
Fuck off. Mason Plumlee's trash, mate. He sucks. I still remember with Anthony Davis that game winner and how it shouldn't have happened. But Mason Plumlee decided to just stick on LeBron for some reason, who wasn't even setting a screen. And he tried to yell at his other teammate to go get Anthony Davis when there was no screen set or anything. He tried to cause a switch to LeBron. It was Mason Plumlee sucks, man. Screw that guy. He's trash. He was also a decent shooter. He's versatile. They're kind of missing those role players, and so I think he and Murray are doing more than enough on the offensive end, right?
Yeah.
But it comes down to defense. They're not great defensive players, and their role players aren't stepping up on defense. I think the Nuggets need to go make trades for more defensive players. I think in free agency they should have gone after Derrick Jones Jr. after they lost Jeremy Grant. I think Derrick Jones Jr. is a cheaper but also a reliable player on the defensive end. So that
he blocked LeBron, right?
Yeah, did he? Yeah. Yes, he did. That's all that matters. That's like, you block LeBron, you're the best defensive player in the league. Straight up.
So, the thing about the Nuggets, the one thing I think with losing Torrey Craig and Jeremy Grant, I think they were expecting, after his playoff performance against the Lakers, PJ Dozier, I think they were expecting him to take a major step forward.
Right.
I don't think he's done that necessarily because, when we saw him in the limited time that he got against the Lakers, because, there was that one game where they played him, in the crunch time minutes, right?
Right.
And yeah, he was putting up points. He was getting to the line, and he was playing really good defense. I don't think he hasn't been able to necessarily replicate that.
And yeah, I think a lot of it is also like I'm looking at his stats here this season. He's not playing bad, but it's he's only able to do stuff in like limited minutes. Like against the Kings, first game of the season, 7 points in 15 minutes. Then he against the Clippers, 7 points in 19 minutes. But then as soon as he crosses that 20 threshold, 3 points, 1 of 5 shooting. Gets 17 minutes against the Kings, 8 points, 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3. The last 2 games against the Timberwolves and the Suns, he's been playing above 20 minutes per game. 6 points, 2 of 7 shooting, 0 of 2 from the 3-point line. 20 minutes, 7 points, 3 of 8 shooting, 1 of 3 from the line. So he's definitely a very low volume player. And they were hoping that he could really assert himself into like a strong sort of two-way kind of guy, right? But he hasn't done that yet. You're right. And I think in general, just the entire team has been kind of underperforming outside of Jokic and Murray.
Oh, Michael Porter Jr. has been really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also looking at Michael Porter Jr. right now. I mean, yeah, he's doing good. He's all over the place in the 4 games he's played. Like, he had 24 in the first, then he had 10, then he had 14, then he had 30. I mean, it's also based on his minutes too, right? When he's given more minutes, he shines. When less amount of minutes,
it's also a scare because it's. I'm sure you guys have heard of this too with what Mike Malone's saying, that his work ethic and his IQ, I guess, passion to kind of do things isn't really there. He barely learned the playbook last season. That's why he didn't play that much, right, until the playoffs. But that's definitely really concerning to me. I mean, I'm sure he has a talent. When he plays above 30 minutes a game, he's going off this season, right? But that sort of, that IQ, like that lack of IQ, plus the fact that he's injury prone really scares me because I don't want to play him that much, right? Because when he's out there, he's kind of just doing his own thing. He's not following a team concept.
Yeah.
Sure, he's putting up numbers, but he's not following that team concept as much, right? Because he just doesn't know what the hell's going on. But at the same time, if you play him a lot, even though he gets you production, you don't know if he's going to play the next 2 games. Like, that's what happened. He played 40 minutes against the Kings, dropped 30 points, really good, 12 of 18 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3, 10 rebounds. He hasn't played the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So it's really an effort because talent isn't going to get you anywhere, right? Talent can only take you so far. So there are a lot of holes this season with the Nuggets that you didn't really see before. I think that's just really the main thing, that they just been underperforming. They thought that their players would step up, but they haven't yet. I think you can definitely look to the Nuggets making some moves before the trade deadline. But yeah, I mean, so let's keep moving on. So let's start getting a bit quicker here for time's sake. So we got the Bucks, Nets, Celtics. 3-3 start for the Bucks. 3-4 for the Nets, and 4-3 for the Celtics. What do you guys think? Because these are supposed to be like our top 3 teams. I think we all had them as our top 3 seeds.
Yeah, we did.
And they're hovering in the middle and near the bottom. Like, what's going on here for the Bucks, Nets, and Celtics? I think their issues are pretty similar, if I say so myself.
Well, I think for the Celtics, outside of, like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they've been having outstanding seasons, right? Jaylen Brown's amazing 28 points per game, Jason Tatum 24.3. But I think outside of that, they have, they're missing Kemba and Gordon Hayward, Marcus Smart, they've given him more of an offensive role, but he really hasn't been able to, he's been good, he's been shooting well, but his field goal percentage has been low. So like his 3-point percentage has been good, but his field goal has been bad, which is weird.
Right.
Which you don't want your player having that necessarily, because you want him to have a higher field goal percentage usually.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's him taking, whether it's his IQ on the offensive side, whether he's taking bad shots or whatever. I'm not too sure because I haven't been able to tune into many Celtics games.
Mm-hmm.
And and then also like if you look at their assists per game outside of, Tatum, like, okay, Marcus Smart, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, they've been, combined, they've averaged around, let's say 12 assists per game. But after that, you don't have anyone passing the ball. So that's where they miss that Gordon Hayward. And and Kemba, Kemba, like he's been, I think based off of this during the regular season, he's been underrated for them. We know that he's had defensive problems. Offensively, I think they've been not lackluster, but they've just been not where we've expected them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On like a lot of their games, like they're like all the way down to the wire. They need like Tatum to hit a shot for the win, right? So like I think like they need to get better offensively and get a lot better to be like a proper team in the East.
Yeah. I think you guys are right. I think they're just hanging on until Kemba comes back. They need some power on the offensive end. To be honest, I think Tristan Thompson was probably the worst signing for them. They needed rebounding, and they tried to go after Tristan Thompson, but he gives them no defense. I think what the Celtics have been really lacking is their ability to compete against other big men. That's why they got beat by the 76ers, if I'm not wrong. Embiid, I mean, he played very little minutes, but he put up 18 points in just 17 minutes of action, right? So that's pretty good, like in terms of points per minute wise. Shake Milton also played really well, but they don't have a guy that they can put on the opposing team's big men. Outside of Tatum, I mean, they have those three core guys right now: Tatum, Brown, and Marcus Smart. Three pretty good defensive players. But as a team, like they can't stop teams from getting inside the paint and scoring. Tice is not that guy. Tristan Thompson is definitely not that guy. So that's I think the biggest bad side, I guess you say, like the biggest negative I have against the Celtics. Because you can't really say much because they're again not completely healthy. So that's just really what I wanted to say about the Celtics. Fuck the Celtics. Nobody likes the Celtics. Boston sucks. You heard it here first. I'm happy that they're doing horrible. But so I think that goes the same thing for the Bucks and the Nets. Let's talk about the Bucks for a second here. So Giannis, I think Giannis has been playing completely fine. He still sucks at the free throw line. He still doesn't have the greatest post game or the 3-point shot. So I don't know what Giannis is, like how the Bucks are going to do in the playoffs. But as a regular season team, they've been playing fine. I like to say Chris Middleton, he's been pretty good this season as well. He's averaging 21 on the season, playing really well. But I have to say the rest of the team hasn't really been stepping up.
I mean, they lost. Drew Holiday, like I expect more out of him, but like, he's doing fine. He's averaging like 16 a game with like 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He's doing fine.
It's a really small sample size for sure. It's only like 5 or 6 games, but he needs to start getting more aggressive and become that second or third option, because I think that's what the Bucks need right now. They gave up a lot. They gave up Bledsoe, who's a great 3-and-D, not 3-and-D, but like, two-way player. They gave up George Hill, a sniper, for him, right? So they gave up strong bench pieces for Drew Holiday, plus picks. So he needs to really start to show out because the bench is very thin, I think, for the Bucks. I think, honestly, at first I thought they did a really good job, but their players haven't been really stepping it up too much. DiVincenzo has been really nice, I would say, but I think they could have definitely loved that sign and trade for Bogdanović to go down. But
yeah,
I think it just goes back to the rest of the team, and they need to start doing better and more. Yeah. Brook Lopez has not been as good as he was last season. He was amazing last season for them, but he hasn't really done much either. So I'd like to see him get more involved as well on both sides of the ball. He was really good on the defensive side last year, but not as much this season.
For sure.
and DJ Augustin. They also signed Bryn Forbes. I think Bryn Forbes has been pretty decent, but he's also, I mean, he's been pretty good off the bench for them. But they tried to sign DJ Augustin, but he's been pretty bad this season as well. So it just comes down to the rest of the team. I think you can say that for the Nets, Celtics, and Bucks as a collective. The Nets,
all three
they've lost a couple games that they should have won.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They need to learn how to close out games effectively, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's close, they know they're the better team, right? They got to know them themselves and then just elevate.
Yeah, and it's not like KD and Kyrie have had bad games either. These guys are playing really, really well, right? It's just the rest of the team needs to start coming into their own. And I think as the season gets better, I don't think there's much to worry about these guys, the Bucks, Celtics, and the Nets, because as the season goes on, I think the role players will start figuring out their roles a little bit better. The Celtics, they have injuries, right? The Bucks bench is pretty much brand new as well, and the Nets team is a new team, you could say, as well. So they just need time to kind of figure out their roles and get comfortable with their positioning. And honestly, after that, I think it should be pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah, so you know how Dinwiddie's out for the season pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think off of that, I think we need Landry Shamet to step up based on what he's done. Only averaging 4.3 points per game. Yeah. He's supposed to be a 3-point specialist, only averaging 21% from three. That's you don't want you can't be having that if you want to be a top team in the East, right?
Yeah.
And so I think as you've been saying, they just need guys to step up. I think how much Taurean Prince? Taurean Prince has been okay, I guess, but you don't expect much out of him because he hasn't been getting that starter role anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a collective thing. I think you just have to just become better and continue gelling as a team.
Yeah.
I think KD and Kyrie have been good together, but I think the rest of the team still has to come back. Continue.
For sure. 100%. They need to start building that chemistry. But again, that starts with the leaders too. Their leaders are shining, but now, seeing that they've lost a couple games while playing really well, I think KD and Kyrie really need to start, going to their team and kind of being those leaders that, they're supposed to be, that they're getting paid for. They need to go into that locker room and they need to set the tone. Like, listen, we need to start winning games and we need you guys, right? They need to start empowering their teammates. And that's about it. So now I think going on to the two really surprising starts to the season, I'd like to say the 76ers are 5-1 and the Suns are 5-2 to start the year. So let's go over these pretty quickly. So the 76ers, I really think that their start to the season is kind of overrated. Now, don't hate me on this, but just hear me out. So let's look
I agree with you completely.
Yeah. Thank you. Somebody thinks my opinion is valid, but let's look at this for a second. The first game of the season, they beat the Celtics. The Celtics, again, are shorthanded, of course. Oh, no, this is the preseason. Whoops. Let's go to the Wizards. The first game of the season, the Wizards. That was a very, 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 very close game that they might have not even won, to be honest. So that's horrible. They barely won that. They should have won that pretty easily. They barely did. The Knicks are decent this season, but they're nowhere near the 76ers level. They should easily win this. It's a blowout. They're an easy team. They get destroyed by the Cavaliers. Now, we'll get to the Cavaliers in a bit and their solid start. But star power-wise, the 76ers should have definitely won this game, but they got smashed. The Raptors, struggling right now. The 76ers should have won this game, and they won this pretty comfortably, so I won't hold it against them. But at the same time, struggling Raptors team defeated the Magic. The Magic, again, a borderline playoff team, just like the Wizards. They should destroy this. Hornets, again, blew out the Hornets. Another really borderline playoff team, probably going back to the lottery. So I think this start to the season, they've had a pretty easy schedule, I'd like to say. I like to see when they play against the Lakers on the 27th. I want to see how they hold up against them. I want to see them on the 7th coming up when they play against the Nets and then the Nuggets. We need to look at those games to really see if this team is a real deal. But otherwise, I think that they're just a bit overrated.
No, I think they're fine. They made some very nice moves. They got a lot of shooting. That's the the large thing that they were missing last season, shooting. Right? They lost JJ Redick and a lot of their shooters, and then now they have like Curry, right, and Green. So I think they should be fine. I think I see them as a high seed now. In my predictions, I put them lower, but now I see them as a higher seed. They have meshed very well, in my opinion. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess we'll see. It's a really small sample size, but I just don't see it happening. I think the Sixers are going to go back and just topple down, because it's not like their players are playing absolutely amazing. I think Embiid's playing pretty solid as usual. He's averaging 25 points per game, which is pretty consistent for him. He's been doing that a lot. Ben Simmons, he's been playing really similar to how he's been playing usually, averaging less points if anything. He's averaging 14 on the season. He hit a 3, so he's averaging 100% at the strike, but he's not really taking that many shots either. 9 shots against the Charlotte 2 days ago, 7 shots against Orlando. So it's let's see. Because they're not really doing much different. Like it's not like their players from before are doing absolutely amazing, right? So that's why I feel like it's kind of overrated, and it's just more of their schedule. Seth Curry's been really good for them, I will say, but I still see them as a middle seed. And then the next is the Suns. I didn't expect the Suns to gel so quickly. They're playing really, really well. Yeah, and I'm so happy to see Devin Booker winning.
CP3, man.
The CP3 effect is real, right? We can confirm that. Yeah.
And honestly, another thing is DeAndre Ayton. He's been really good too. I think people, even though he was the number 1 pick, people forget that sometimes. That this dude was the number 1 pick and that he is a beast. But people just kind of forget that sometimes. And he's been, the first few games of the season, he wasn't the greatest. But the last couple, he's been coming into his own. 10 of 13 from the field, 9 of 12 from the field, 11 rebounds, 8 rebounds for 24 and 22 points respectively. He's averaging a couple blocks per game. I think the Suns have kind of figured out how to get their like 3-headed monster with Chris Paul, Booker, and CP3 to work now. And even though they've been winning games, like you can see DeAndre Ayton start to put up more numbers.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, likewise to like OKC last year, all their wins are pretty close, right? Yeah. Like, I think the max is won by is like 25 against the Pelicans, but other than that, like all the games are within 3. I think 9. So like, it's CP3, man.
For sure, but like I think it's not even that he's like playing really amazing. It's more that he's just kind of bringing that presence of of a playmaker that I think the Suns have been lacking for so long now. They traded away Dragic, they traded away Isaiah Thomas. They couldn't really find that point guard. They had Elfrid Payton on their team at some point. They couldn't really find that playmaking guard that they could trust, and they finally have him, and things are really starting to work out as well. Another thing I want to quickly point out before we move on is also Cameron Johnson. He's really stepped it up. He's shooting 2 more shots per game, of course, but he's averaging approximately 4 to 5 more points per game now. He's been solid from the 3-point line this season. He's always has been, but he's even better this season at 40%. His efficiency is amazing. So I'd really like to see what his future is like. But yeah, the Suns have been great, and I'm really happy.
Yo, before we continue, can we also talk about Mikal Bridges? Amazing season. 14 points per game. Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, yeah.
Yeah, 14 points per game, 46% from 3, 49% from the field. He's been amazing. Defensively, he's been solid, maybe top 10, top 15 defender in the league right now, the wing defender. He's been amazing. And, like the one, like, I don't know if it's a concern, but I think it's just that Booker, how the Suns relied on him so much as a primary playmaker for so many years. Yeah. I think now, because of CP3, I think he still has to. Now I think he has to start adjusting back to becoming a real 2 guard. Where he, instead of him making the plays, he's the one receiving. He's on the receiving side of the plays.
Yeah.
Because if you see, he's had high turnovers, and a lot of the turnovers that he has had are, of plays that he shouldn't really be making, and those were plays that he would be making because a couple years ago, because the Suns didn't have anyone around him.
Right.
But I think that's just a thing that over time he's just gonna mature. That's what you get with being beside Chris Paul. I think end up maturing.
His numbers have been pretty good too. Like he had 8 assists against the Clippers, 7 against the Jazz, only 2 against the Nuggets. But I like the fact that I really do like him as a playmaker. But you're right about the turnovers, and he just needs to allow Chris Paul to kind of do his thing a little more, right, and be off ball. But I think that could even be even more deadly because him as an off ball guard. Right, he's great in the catch and shoot, but him being like an off ball guard with someone like DeAndre Ayton in the roaming the paint could be like one of the most lethal offenses in the league. And I think their coach is doing a really good job of finding motions that work. But again, I think that's going to come over time throughout the season as well. But
okay, so you want to move on to the greatest duo of all time, Sexland.
Oh gosh, yes, Sexland in the building. They're here. Nazem, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So what? Colin Sexton's been averaging 26 points per game, 55% from the field, 55% from 3 as well, which is amazing. Let me see his true shooting. What's his true shooting? Let me find his true shooting real quick, and then I'll tell you. Because his
okay, whatever. Are unbelievable.
Yeah. And also, Darius Garland stepped up. A lot of people were concerned about how he performed last year. And now, a lot of people thought, when he came in, he was supposed to be that number one playmaker for the Cavs because, Colin Sexton isn't much of a playmaker. And this year he stepped it up, averaging 6.3 assists, 17 points per game, 45 from the field, 47 from 3. And another thing that's been really underrated for the Cavs has been their front court, Larry Nance and Andre Drummond. They've actually been able to run plays with them. If you see, they've been able to do a lot of handoff plays that have been effective. Whether it's Drummond or Larry Nance that hands it off to Darius Garland and then they get it back in the paint, or Darius Garland goes back up for the layup. They've been really effective off of that, and I think it's just they've been able to step it up, and we still haven't seen them with Kevin Porter Jr. still injured and Isaac Okoro's injured right now. So I think if they're able to mesh, I think they're legitimate top, maybe not. Okay, no, maybe top. Let's say between 8 to 6 seed. If everything can mesh well together, Colin Sexton showed that scoring potential that he showed in college.
Yeah, I absolutely hate Larry Nance Jr. I just want to put that out there. I hate this man. This guy pulled up first week of fantasy, dropped 60 points on my ass, and I was so butthurt, man. I was so sad. I ended up winning the week, but it's just I hated this guy for really long, just had straight dispassion for this dude. But no, in all seriousness though, but he's been really good this season, rebounding and assists wise. He's been amazing. He's been really, really active in the lanes, getting a lot of steals. His efficiency from the field, he hasn't been much of a great scorer, but honestly, it's more important for him to be a great playmaker as he's been and a good rebounder, because that I guess takes more pressure off guys like Garland and Sexton, right? That backcourt duo and makes them more focused on scoring, which they have been. And yeah, I'm the future of the Cavs looks really, really bright.
Yeah.
And let's just see how it goes. I mean, with Andre Drummond, this is his contract year. Where will he go? What's gonna happen? We'll see. But I do feel like his value is still there. I think he's gonna get a lot of value from teams like the Knicks and stuff if he doesn't decide to stay with the Cavs.
Well, I wish he landed the Lakers. Though.
I don't know if he would really be good.
You want everybody to go to the Lakers, Amatos. Literally, you're that guy who fucking what's it called? Photoshop every all-star player. You Photoshop every player, every team's all-star into a Lakers jersey. So you want everybody there.
Lakers are 3 teams.
Oh, okay, buddy. All right. So with that in mind, let's move on. So let's briefly mention the Magic and the Hawks too, because they've also had a pretty good start. the Hawks, I think we all expected them here to do really well.
Yeah.
Trae Young has been playing out of your mind. I'll give it to you, Amatos. You did figure that one out. You
Yes, sir.
you got that correct, and I gotta give that to you. But yeah, Trae Young has balled out. He's been playing amazing. He did have a rough game against Cleveland, and also against a little bit of a rough game against Brooklyn as well. But he's averaging 28 on the season and 8 assists, which isn't as good as it was last season. They're able to compete with any team in the league, and I think that's their strong suit. But with Capella them for 145 the night before, but they've done a pretty solid job. Huge step down from last season. And in terms of scoring, he averaged 21 last season, but he's averaging only 17 this season. But he's also playing 6 less minutes. He's still efficient from the field. His 3-point percentage is kind of sucked, but he's still putting up numbers. He put up 30 against the Nets, then 20 again. He's consistently averaging, above 15 points per game. He's at 17, as I said, but he's still been pretty good for them. So I'd like to see how they continue to mesh. And yeah, that's about it for the Hawks. For the Magic, I think this is just a fad.
VP Vucevic?
Yeah, I think it is just a little fad for them, a small trend. The Magic do this every season where they come out hot and then all of a sudden they just start sucking again.
Yeah.
And honestly, they have a lot of players playing really well. Vucevic has been playing really well. Terrence Ross has been playing really well, but I don't see how consistent or how sustainable that play is.
Yeah.
So we're really just gonna have to see. And Cole Anthony, he's been actually, I don't even know. Let me check out Cole Anthony. I haven't heard of anything recently. He's been not great at all. No wonder you don't hear much about him. But Markelle Fultz has been pretty good.
Yeah.
I am really happy for him and how he's playing. Yeah. I hope that the Magic can can keep this up and keep playing as well as they are. But at the end of the day, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, every single year. Yeah, I was saying every single year they get a low seed, and then in the first round they always verse a really good team like the Raptors and the Bucks. So I feel like if they keep this play up, they can easily make the second round, right? If they get
second, really?
It depends who they get in the first.
I don't see that happening.
I think they can beat the Pacers. I think
Pacers have been really good with Sabonis. He's been balling out. Oladipo has been better than what everyone's expected. It's but going back to the Magic, but what I've really liked about them is that they've been able to stay good defensively. They're 12th out of 30th in terms of defensive rating, and without John Isaac, who's a major loss for them, they've still been good. Vucevic, he's still been good, and Gordon, he's been okay defensively. They've played better than what we expected, and better in terms of defensively, because I would have thought, without John Isaac, I wouldn't have thought that they would have been a top 14, top 12 defensive team. I thought they would have been in the lower 20s.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but as you said, the Magic always make that, to start off, they always surprise everyone, at the start of the season, but then they come back to life.
And that's just why I'm just scared of saying anything about the Magic right now, because they always go off to this first great start in the first 10, 15 games of the season. Then they just kind of tank. But they need to really figure out what they want to do, because they've been stuck in NBA purgatory the last so many years. And I just feel like, they're not going anywhere. They're always consistently a low seed, as Amatos was saying. So really, they need to start. They need to start figuring out what direction they want to go in. But that's about it for them. So, okay, so we're on to our final topic. If you guys want to continue on now.
Yeah, we'll continue. We'll just finish it off after this one.
Yeah. So our final topic of today's podcast is the King situation. So there hasn't been much trade traction or trade rumors really that have really popped up that have been new. You haven't heard much about the whole James Harden situation. But the Kings and Marvin Bagley has just popped up in the last couple of days. If you guys don't know, Marvin Bagley's dad, he tweeted out that he wants the Kings to trade Marvin Bagley out just trade him from the Kings from Sacramento. What do you guys
and
think?
then deleted it, right? Yeah, and then deleted the comment.
But then he backed it up.
Deleted it. I haven't seen if he deleted it or not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he backed it up by retweeting a screenshot of it, something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, Bagley isn't that great. He has potential, but he's just been injury prone, first thing. And he hasn't really shown signs. When have you seen Marvin Bagley go off for like, I don't know, 25, 20 plus, 30 or something? You haven't really seen it. His best game this season was an 18-point game against the Nuggets. His field goal percentage is sucked, especially for a power forward center type player. He's averaging 37% from the field, right? I just don't see like his trade value going anywhere. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. So for me, like it's not a Kings fit problem, because that's what I thought it was last year. With the Kings and how with how they've come out this year, I think it's been more of a Marvin Bagley problem and how he's played in the NBA. Because his style is more ancient now. He's like back to the rim, type of guy, post you up.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been effective, and he hasn't been working out, and his injuries, and I don't think you can play him at power forward because of his lack of shooting. So he's more of a center. But then the thing at center is that he doesn't bring it defensively. Defensively, he's lost.
Right.
And it's not even that he's not had opportunity to showcase his stuff. He has, Like if you look at he's taken 15 shots a game, 13 shots, 12 shots a game, so he should be able to produce off of that, but he really hasn't. And another thing for me has been, getting now. You want to continue? I'm forgetting what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I was going to go off of what he said. Now is it like he's getting the opportunity, but he's not able to shine, right? And yeah, I don't see any trade value for him either.
But okay, so where are some trade destinations you could think of for Marvin Bagley? To be honest, I think his career is gonna live and die in Sacramento. I think if he does get traded, that'll be the end of Marvin Bagley, because I really don't think there's a fit for him on a single team in the league right now. He's not the greatest defensive player. His 3-point shooting is shaky at best. And he just hasn't been great in what he's supposed to be good at, the post, right? It's really sad, because I think Sacramento right now, as a team, they've kind of been odd. They don't have the greatest spacing in the world. They lost Bogdanovic. Fox has been playing really well, but again, he's not a good 3-point shooter either. Buddy Hield, there's trade rumors about him too, and him being very concerned about his role in Sacramento, but he hasn't even had a good season either. So the future in Sacramento is odd. I think honestly that as much as I love Vlade Divac as a player, and I think he was really good, they need to look at remodeling their front office.
Yeah,
and getting.
I think they took a step forward in terms of remodeling the front office, because I know they fired a couple guys right in the offseason. I'm not
for
wrong.
Sure, but like their management in general has still been. It still sucks. Their coach isn't the greatest. I think honestly, more than anything, they just need a coaching switch and see how that goes. Because honestly, Luke Walton isn't the greatest coach in the league. He's not really good. Sure, he coached the Warriors on that 73-9 season when Steve Kerr was out with his own medical issues, but he didn't really do much as a coach on his own. He was a terrible coach for the Lakers. He hasn't really proved himself here in Sacramento either. So I think it starts there. I think it starts with a new coach that has a certain vision. If that makes sense, every coach has a certain way of playing and they're good at it. They know how to get the best out of their players. and play the way that the coach wants him to play. But I don't think that Luke Walton has that ability. He doesn't have the ability to. He doesn't have an identity for himself. Like, what type of coach is he? Right? You know, when you think of Popovich, you think of more old school defense. When you think of Nick Nurse, you think of gritty, physical defense and an inside outside threat and creativity. When you think of Steve Kerr, you think of motion offense. You have nothing that defines Luke Walton as a coach, and I think that's kind of one of the bad things about him.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So I remembered what I was going to talk about. If you want to summarize Marvin Bagley's career in one play, I don't know if you saw. Did you see the video of Marvin Bagley calling the ISO on Christian Wood? And then he immediately loses it. No, I've seen it. So he gets the ball in around the elbow, right? He calls an ISO, moves everyone off, takes 2 dribbles and loses it. That's literally his career in a shell.
Yeah, and I did think of a potential trade destination for him. I think he would work with the Portland Trailblazers, right? With Zach Collins still injured, I think he might be able to fit in the system they're running there, but I'm not very sure though.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that because they already have Nurkic, who's an inside threat, and I don't think you can play Bagley and Nurkic. For me, what I would, his career could pan out similarly, like Julius Randle. On the Lakers, he struggled, right? But then the second he switched teams, he went to he moved to the Pelicans, right? In free agency, was it?
No, he got traded.
Was it part of the trade? Or was it free agency? I don't remember. No, I think it was free agency. He signed the 1-year, $8 million contract, prove it, show it, that type of contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you have to move Julius Randle to somewhere where he has he's the bona fide, first or second option where he does have a playmaker beside him. And, like how Julius Randle had, Drew Holiday. I think, Marvin Bagley, he can work off that. And then hopefully with that, he can maybe improve his outside game and, just become a better
player. Where do you see him? Where do you see him? Because honestly, I can't think of a single team that.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either.
Let's look at the standings real quick. We're going a little bit above time, but let's just look. Maybe the Pistons, if they're willing to trade like a Blake Griffin away.
I don't know.
No.
Have Sekou and Sadiq Bey,
Yeah, I can't see. Maybe the Thunder. I don't know. But yeah, that's it's an odd situation. Bagley hasn't proved himself to be really a trade asset at all. And I guess we'll see. He's still only 21 years old. He still has a lot of time to improve. But he isn't playing like the second pick. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But with that being said, I think that covers it up for this week, guys.
Yeah.
So thank you guys at home for watching Wired Hoops. Again, the best NBA podcast for anything basketball, culture, or sports related. Follow us on Instagram at Wired Hoops. Go check out our YouTube channel, which is also Wired Hoops. The first podcast has been posted there, and it has been split into 2 episodes. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify as well, so you know when our next podcasts come out. Until next time, peace out, guys. See ya.
Yep. Later, guys. Have a good day, I guess, or a great week.